Rolling up on 7 o'clock. Hi, Mike. How are you this evening?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing real well. Doing real well. Got to spend a few days up in Pennsylvania where I was born and raised. Got to see some folks I haven't seen in decades. It was a celebration of life for my wife's father, who passed away in January.
Sorry to hear that.
And they decided, instead of doing anything back in January, just do like a picnic type event when the weather got warmer. And so we were all about that. Let's wait for the weather to get warmer. It was pretty darn nice. We had a little bit of rain while we were up there, but just the difference of some cool nights before some of this heat rolled into everywhere. And we drove it. So I take my time. It took us about 13 hours each way.
So it's quite the trip.
All right. How about just 7 o'clock going on 7:01? We'll give it another minute or two here before we actually get rolling. It should send a couple of quick shout outs. All right. We are at 7:02, so it's about time to get going here, folks. I just realized, though, I don't have my disclaimer open. Gotta go find that. There we go. All right, here we are. Another Wednesday night, 7 p.m. for the South Carolina Cannabis Conversation. I'm going to start as I usually like to do, and welcome everybody who's here on the call with me this evening. Also, I welcome everybody who might be watching on our live stream on YouTube, and welcome to anybody watching the recording on YouTube later as well. When I mention YouTube, I do like to mention that while we're live streaming, we are not monitoring the comment section of the YouTube channel. So if you do have any questions, comments, and or concerns, leave them down below, off to the side, wherever your device leaves your comments. And once YouTube is done rendering the video, we will go back and address your questions, comments, and or concerns. With that, let's hit our disclaimer of all of our meetings are an environment of education and awareness and are not an open market for the sale, purchase, or distribution of cannabis. We do not encourage or condone illegal behavior of any kind. All right, close that up, get that out of the way there. And let me look at my other screens here. I am hoping everybody who's on the call, when I decided to go out and vote in the primaries yesterday, I don't know what the, I bet you we can find out, turnout was. We can go find out. We'll go into that in a minute. But historically, primary elections are not attended as well as generals, and also in non-presidential years, voting is usually down in those as well. My understanding, tell me if I'm wrong, put it down in the comments below, but I believe, primary elections like this draw like 16 to 18, 19% of the voters, of the registered voters. But then again, with voter registration being tied to your getting your driver's license and or I guess state ID, there is a pretty high percentage of voter registration in the state. I want to say roughly 85%. But again, during primaries, the turnout can be relatively low. This election, we'll go into it real quick. The best way for us to kind of go and look at that, I'm going to share my screen here in a second, is I like to use the site scvotes.gov. Let me give you that address here in the chat. Excuse me a second. I just got a request for a link to the meeting. Okay, sorry about that. And Andrew shared a link with us. Let me go hit that and see where that takes us. Yeah, okay, I think I have to register there or something. Anyway, where does I? Oh, I dropped the link in there for scvotes.org. And if you go to that in your browser, share screen, there we go. It will take you to the scvotes.gov website. What I've done is you'll see right up here at the top, results for 2022 statewide primaries. I have that open on another tab, so let me just switch to that tab. And here's where you'll see in this blue bar across the top, results, which is where we are now. Select county. I guess we can drill down into these, and that's something I may have to do between now and the generals. A place to mark your favorite races, and turnout. So when I was talking about turnout, we might be able to find out some of those answers there. But for the moment, if you click on this link that says results for 2022 statewide primaries, it will take you to this page, the results page. You will note just below the tab that says results, it says unofficial results, because I guess they're still officiating the counts. I do believe there are going to be a couple of runoffs. I have to look into that. I thought I heard something about a runoff with Representative Matthews in the Congressional 2nd District. I think it is. Anyway, these are, I'm assuming, listed by, top down for the most part, and then alphabetically. And you'll see that, I don't know why it's highlighted because my hovering it. Joe Cunningham took the Democratic primary for the governor of South Carolina, taking in 56+% of the vote. The Republican primary, that was Henry McMaster, took in 83.3%. As we know, when it comes to cannabis, as far as the topic of cannabis, where both of these candidates pretty much stand, It'll be an interesting race to see how South Carolinian voters handle this. Then we have Secretary of State. And again, there was no Democratic primary on that. If there is, and I don't have the window open, do I? If there's no competitor in that party, they don't have to run. There's nobody to run off against. So that one person that registered to become the candidate gets the nomination from the party. Blah 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 blah. So that's why you'll see on some of these that either there is no opposition from the other, from the Democratic Party, or there was no runoff on that party. But Secretary of State, representatives, and there was Mark Hammond and Bill Blanford, runaway vote for Mark Hammond on that. Goes down to Attorney General, and that's one that I really was, hoping not to have to deal with Alan Wilson anymore, I guess is the way I want to look at it. That's sort of my own position, thinking maybe a little bit of fresh air. I did text back and forth a little bit with this Lauren Moitel at one point. She sounded to be what's the best way to phrase it? She seemed to be slightly more open to medical. And maybe I'm selling her short on that. Maybe she was a little bit more enthusiastic, but when it comes to the topic of cannabis, Alan Wilson is not the cannabis reform candidate that we'd like to see win that seat again. But it is what it is. State Superintendent of Education, you'll see down below, there was a race between on both tickets. That really doesn't affect our actions much. Commissioner of Agriculture, I don't know. That should affect us to a certain extent. Having a pro-cannabis Commissioner of Agriculture could be a good thing. All right. Yes. Okay. This is what I was thinking about. U.S. Senate seat in the Democratic Party. That is whoever wins that race will go up against Tim Scott for the U.S. Senate here. Seat in South Carolina, and the Catherine Fleming Bruce, 34.71%. Crystal Matthews, 33.22%. I thought I heard something about a runoff race between the two of them for June 28th. That's the runoff date. So in 2 weeks, basically, there will be a smattering of runoff races throughout the state. The reason I think I heard about that one is because I happen to, well, if you're in South Carolina, you're in that district. The other one was, we talk about this quite a bit, Nancy Mace, who has sponsored the State Reform Act. States, I believe it is with an S, Reform Act, and that is a bill to deschedule cannabis at the federal level. Has some restorative justice type language in it as well, as far as I believe expungement language, and those are ones. Now the Lynch Piper Loomis, I haven't. I know I know the name of them, but I don't know anything else about them. This is the district again. I'm in the U.S. House District 1. I believe there's 7 throughout the state of South Carolina. We'll look at them all as we scroll through here. But that one was kind of especially part of our focus being in, first off, me personally living in her district. Secondly, because of the cannabis connection there. And so she does have an opponent in the generals. So we'll see where it goes from there. Next, we have House District 4. Again, William Timmons. William Timmons actually looks like he blew it away in that district. And he is the incumbent in that seat. Trying to think if I have this other window open. There we go. Let me backtrack a second. I was looking up something else, but while we have this open. Okay, 1, 2. Okay. Yeah, there's William Timmons right there. Doesn't have a great grade with us. But we didn't have any information on those opposing him either. So, not sure what to say on that one. Kevin Eckhart was somebody we were kind of really rooting for in this particular seat here for District 5. He took 42% of the vote. We haven't gotten any statement from Evangeline Hunley. And then again, there was probably just an incumbent in that seat that they're running against. And so there is no primary in the other party there. You'll see here District 6, James Clyburn, who is the incumbent there, took a strong vote in his district. Opposition will be Duke Buckner in the generals, and that will be District 6. And then District 7, again, I don't know who the incumbent is, and they probably had no opposition in their party. Oh, hold it. It was just Tom Rice's seat. District 7. That is Tom Rice's seat. Tom Rice, District 7, U.S. House. That's the federal level, congressional level. Probably the most I don't want to actually call him cannabis friendly, but definitely better for our efforts. Tom Rice in that seat. Looks like, disappointingly, he's no longer in that seat. And Russell Fry, I don't think we have any info on. Nothing. So there's one for you. If you happen to be in House District 7 and you know anything about Russell Fry, we're going to ask y'all to let us know. Hopefully have some sort of links for whatever articles you may have heard it on, or YouTube videos, that kind of thing. Oh, I just noticed a little light up here telling me there is some chat going on here, so I'm going to take a look. If you do have any comments on any of these things I'm mentioning so far, that gets us through those congressional seats. Definitely leave a comment here in the chat. All right. Josh, but I guess probably before I popped it up there, I was asking who got the nomination for Democratic for governor. And it was Joe. Again, I was very honored to have him on our show last year. I definitely wished him well. Definitely the most, what's the word I'm kind of looking for? vocal about his position on cannabis than I think any of the other pro-cannabis or cannabis-friendly candidates were. I'll scroll back up. I got a comment on that in just a second. Also, we'll see what Andrea has here. Okay, Andrew's just kind of reaffirming that position. That was good to see a vocal cannabis candidate take that side of the race. But we'll see. Like I say, Mia McLeod here on our list. She still had a strong showing, and she is a sitting legislator. She has sponsored descheduling at state level legislation. So, you know, she has been demonstrative of her position. If not as vocal, she sort of demonstrated her position by proposing that type of legislation. Anyway, let me get back to scrolling by way too fast here. Okay, that was the U.S. House seats. Then there was the state races, and I don't know exactly where we're going to be playing off on these. This is a pretty long list, and I don't think we should really be, unless y'all want to, going through some of this line by line. I have to go back to this one. This one sort of surprises me. Oh, and that's where I was. If you happen to be in District 7, U.S. House District 7, see what you know on Russell Fry, contact on, ask him to complete our candidate questionnaire. That stuff will still be active. That questionnaire will pretty much still be active for the time being, excuse me, through the generals. I don't see us like creating a new questionnaire at this point. The question's still the same when we talk to them about what's their position. So, all right, let me get out of that federal stuff. State level, you can see there's a number of Republican races in the primary. There's not a lot of Democratic activity on the board until we get down to District 25. And then that is just a Democratic race. And again, as we scroll through these, I would have to look a little closer and sort of, let's go ahead and do this. District 30, where we just kind of left off. Those are out of order. Yeah, I'm not seeing any opposition to opposition party, should I say, in a lot of these races. Not sure why that is. If maybe there just is. Don't know why that is. Anyway, but you'll see a lot of Republican races in the primaries, and some as we're scrolling through here in the Democratic primaries throughout the state. Who did I just see here? Yeah, we're getting a little more mix of color down here further. I did see one. Oh, where was that district? I almost want to say 81, but I don't remember now. I'm blanking on his name. Let me go find him real quick here. Oh, there's our friend Vic Dabney. We should see what was going on there. House District 52, Vic Dabney. How'd you do, Vic? Well, we won't have to see Vic Dabney on the House floor after the end of this session.
Yay!
That's good to see. I don't know anything about Ben Connell, so I don't know what we got to replace him with. But bye, Vic. Good luck in the future. All right, who else did we have here? I'm looking for. Oh, I'm not seeing him. I'm blanking on his name. We had him on the call one night. Man, what is his name? Greg Ford. There he is. District 98. I believe Chris Murphy took it over Greg Ford. Let's go look at District 98 here. Yeah, 68% to 31%. Again, I believe I reached out to Chris Murphy and asked for him to complete the questionnaire. He chose not to. Greg actually was a pretty strong believer in most aspects of medical use and legalization. I think he had a bit of a misunderstanding on the simple possession decriminalization versus whatever he was viewing decriminalization to be. But definitely was a stronger supporter than some of the legislators we see seated now. So let me just kind of quick roll through a little bit more of this. I can't think of any other ones offhand that were big races in my mind. Oh, this one, Lynn Bennett. I know, again, nothing about Larry Brewer. What is this? District 114. There we go. I would think, because again, Lynn Bennett is a sitting and pro cannabis, I probably reached out to Gary Brewer. I don't know for certain. She has co-sponsored the House version of the Compassionate Care Act. She's been vocal. She's been seen in public supporting this, and so she lost her seat on that. I mean, mind you, beyond that, Lynn was not always one of my favorite legislators, but she did have that going for her, at least, as she supported medical cannabis and did it vocally. So, any other races? I'm going to check the chat window in case anything you guys have that you want to mention in your communities.
Yeah, it was District 69. This is Michael.
And you're what district? 69?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see no races going on there.
Okay. Must be his off here. We'll get him next time.
Yeah. And it looks like there were a number of advisory questions on the Republican primary. I have no idea what they were. I must admit that it sort of threw me off, because I was thinking about which party's primary do I want to vote in. What's kind of interesting in South Carolina is you can vote in either one of them, not both, but either one of them. And I guess depending on your strategy, it might be interesting to vote on either side, depending on your position on certain things or what races are going on at the time. A good example for me would be, again, this Nancy Mace against Katie Arrington race. I didn't vote in the Republican primary, I will admit. So I didn't vote in the race, but I was thinking about it going, I don't want Katie Arrington to be possibly taking that seat. I'm not a fan of Katie. If you think differently, you're welcome to. Just, I don't see her as a friend to cannabis. and so that to me is kind of, as you all know, that's sort of an important issue to me. All right, I want a real quick peek here again. I see some new chat in here. Oh, let me take a quick peek there. I'll go back up 7, 8, and 9. Only 7 was in the primaries at this point. I'm not sure who's in 8 and 9. And yeah, Josh Mace did win her nomination for the party. Yep. So it will be in the generals. It will be Nancy Mace versus Dr. Annie Andrews. I think the last name is. Yeah. Oh, okay. Didn't mean to switch out of there. All right. Let's see if there's any other ones here. Herb Kurzman wasn't running against anybody. Let's see, was that again? 118, 119 for Stavrinicus. Yeah, I guess since there wasn't a runoff, there's no, I said there's no, they got 100% by default. All right, let me see if there's anything else in the last 4 of them here. Nobody that we're too aware of here. Shannon Erickson, again, no opposition in this race. And again, Tim Scott, we didn't see on the list because he has no opposition in his party on this race either. 732. Oh, I don't know if we lost Joey or come on in, Joey. So that is the election yesterday, at least as far as the, let me close this one window that's in my way. Unofficial results. Again, if you do have a particular race you have a question on, we can take a look at here. But as far as, you know, cannabis goes, it's sort of a mixed bag. I have not really watched what Jill's been saying. I know she posted a picture of a list of some races with circles and arrows. Mentioned that we won some, lost some. So I don't know exactly what her position on some of those are, if they're all, because she's got a slightly different position too. If they're at all supportive of medical only, it still gives them a B on our scale. But I'm looking for candidates that are going to get an A and support decrim, support expungement of records, and all in all support federal descheduling. Yes, I support medical, but I think that's too narrow. It doesn't protect a lot of the people that need to be protected. Andrea, you have something to say? Got your hand up?
Oh, yeah. I would just wanted to add that my comment about districts 7, 8, and 9, they weren't in the primaries because they were on the Democratic side and they didn't have an opponent. So
No
That's what I meant.
opposition there? Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
excellent.
So those are the ones I know for sure, because I am in the Anderson County area, and talked to them directly and asked them what their stance was, and they all want to decrim, and legalize, full legalization.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think, we'll see a lot more when we get to the generals on, who takes those final seats, but I'm pretty happy with some of the results that I've seen here. Like I said, the one I'm questioning big is that Tom, why do I keep forgetting Tom's name here? Come on, District 7, Tom Rice, there we go. That one's got me worried a little bit. What's going to happen in that race? And the generals is their opposition, and in that particular one as well, because he did have a B grade. And then there was that other one I saw up here where go back up to it. Timmons took his district pretty strongly, and I couldn't tell you what the opposition was in that one either. District 4, US District 4. Scrolling, get them doggies scrolling. US District 4. Yeah, again, we had no information on his opposition on any of those. Josh asked, do we have any independents running for governor? And yes, we do. We have Gary Vitor. There was actually a bunch in the list. Gary is one we know about. I think I reached out to these others, but there was 4 of them that were independents that were in that race. Again, I guess they don't get a primary, so I don't know how that works. But they don't have a primary in South Carolina anyway, because all we have here is Dems and Republicans. But yes, to answer your question on that one, we do have independents running for governor. And I believe Gary's one of them. Well, I know Gary's one of them. I don't know if he is the one now after the race, like I said, don't know how that works because there wasn't an independent primary. But yes, we do know that. Gotta admit, I think Trucker Bob did pretty well with 16%. Considering it's got to be difficult, I think, running under an alias. You've got, his name is Harrison Musselwhite. I'm not quite sure the connection of why he goes by Trucker Bob. If it's a persona or exactly how it works, but hey, he pulled 61,000 votes. I couldn't get 61,000. That's for sure. All right. Let me just double check questions. I love it. Just as I'm thinking about it, we have another question pop up. Well, there you go. I probably couldn't agree more. That was another thing. I think what I think about when it's like, which primary do I want to vote in? I don't really align with either of them. I don't like a lot about both of them actually. I used to have a conversation with an old friend of mine who since passed away, and I think my explanation to him was, from the time Nixon made cannabis, descheduled, there hasn't been a single president that I have supported because of or based on their cannabis views. There may have been some, false hope here and there, but none of them have been our friend when it comes to their cannabis position and how it relates to the for-profit prison system.
Jimmy Carter was the closest. He was the only one that got us anywhere, at least.
Carter was probably right. You're probably right. It was probably the closest. And so, but it's the system we're stuck with, it seems like. I don't know how to get around it. Yes, there's independents that run, but you don't see many independents actually taking seats. There are a couple in the state, often because they're uncontested races. I'm going to go ahead and turn off share here now. I'm kind of done with that section. And as we see, at least with the cannabis issue, it almost doesn't matter who we elect in. They don't really represent or the ones that are more in power, for the most part, that are empowered, really don't represent the voters that well. You just look at the numbers when it comes to the number of voters that want at least decriminalization, if not full legalization. And legislatively, they don't represent that very closely at all. So it'll be an interesting general election come up in November to see who does win the governorship. It may be obvious to everyone which way I would vote between McMaster and Joe Cunningham. I don't have any other choices on who to vote for that. Well, or Gary. Now, see, Gary could throw a wrench in the works there because he's pro-cannabis as well. He's for full legalization. So, yeah, we'll have to see. And I think a lot of what's going to happen moving forward with cannabis in South Carolina is going to be contingent on that race. It's going to be dictated by that race. And Josh thinks that he's going to predict that 4 more years of foghorn leghorn, I think is how I usually hear them described. But Elmer Fudd is Josh's description. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to predict. I don't even want to get hopeful. So yeah, that's going to be a tough call. That'll be interesting to watch, or interesting to watch like a horror movie.
I think someone really needs to get out there and expose Henry McMaster and all his deals and how he brings these big companies to South Carolina and really how much it screws us as a state. And, it needs to be highlighted.
I've got to give a lot of credit to, I have to probably pull up my emails here. Post and Courier has done some pretty good work at trying to expose corruption in South Carolina, and done it by also partnering with other small newspapers and such throughout the state. I don't know if you all remember me talking about this a while back. There was, forget the exact title of it, but it was sort of a little seminar meeting kind of thing. There was 4 investigative reporters up on the stage, and probably a couple of aides around the room, talking about exposing corruption in different communities throughout the state, how they kind of handle it, and that kind of stuff. But there's not a lot of it. And that was an interesting program in and of itself, talking about how with the reduction of so many jobs in journalism, that these kind of stories and resources are being lost, and then they don't get out there, and the public just doesn't know. And they mentioned about just doing public records requests for oh, excuse me, folks, I'm sorry, for one of the communities. And I'm not going to claim to know what the whole story was, but they wanted to do some records requests. And they were doing it, like I say, working with small newspaper, other small community newspapers. And it happened to be that this town or this community, it was sort of a one-man band operation newspaper. I believe they said it was a woman who at times, had a full-time job or a day job or whatever, to support her family and stuff. And sometimes would even have to take money out of her family budget to pay the rent for the, for the newspaper, because tough to make them pay for themselves. And that's why we're losing so many of these small newspapers, because there is no money in it for people to run and be able to tell the story, and then put up with all the aggravation they may have to put up with. And it even came to the point where they were doing a record request in the small community, and there was a fee to it, because depending on the community or the organization, I guess, they can try to fleece you on these fees and such like that. But the one they were looking for was only like $100 and some. It wasn't a lot of money. And it was just that this woman says, my newspaper makes no money. I just don't have even the $100 and some. And Post encourages, don't you worry about it. We'll take care of that. And paid that particular fee to help get this information, to get the story out, sharing credit with the story. It was a nice story from them anyway, about interacting with other small newspapers and trying to kind of help keep them alive and help keep them viable. Because I would be interested to know as well, what happens with some of these tax dollars? Where are they going, and are they being used in the best interest of the community at large? All right, McMaster and Big Pharma, follow the money. Yeah, I must admit, depending on a lot of factors, I don't generally vote straight party ticket on either of the parties. I'm sorry, I'm going back to reading Mark Harvey's comment here. I don't go running a straight ticket because I'm not devoted to either one of them. Like I said, I'm an issues voter, and so that position can go back and forth. Like I said, I think that Greg Ford race was one that sort of surprised me, because I was that interested in how well he was going to do in that race, solely on the cannabis question. But I don't know. All right, I'm going to peek at the time here and see where we are. 7:48. We're a little shy of an hour here. I did want to bring up, since and Josh is on the call with us tonight. We will be back again next week. I think you all know I talked about kind of cutting back and doing the summer break, losing my mojo, all that kind of stuff. It's not all fully back yet, and I'm probably going to need a little bit of rest time here. But Josh has volunteered to take over the next 2 weeks calls. Correct? I think on that, Josh, for the next 2 weeks, which would be the 22nd, and I don't have my calendar open, and the 29th. They will be what's a good way to call these? Free speak meetings. They will not be broadcast to YouTube. And I will actually end the internal recordings that we do here as well. So they will be not recorded, not broadcast. And that will, but I'm going to try, just on top of that, part of the reason we were looking to do that, especially next week, was because, as some of you know, I got this new job. And I asked them not to schedule me on Wednesday nights. And the first thing they did is got me scheduled on one of the Wednesday nights. I did get that straightened out. Actually, they've got me shifted, so I'm working mornings that day instead of evenings. So I will still be home in plenty of time for the meeting. But I'm going to kind of just click on for the next couple of weeks here as more of an observer and participant, and not so much the host. We're going to ask Josh to do that for the next couple of weeks. With that in mind, I don't know if you've thought about it a whole lot yet or not. Josh, do you have any insight or topics that you might be thinking of talking about, or any questions for our listeners and our guests about what they want to talk about?
I've been floating around a few ideas. I haven't sat on any one yet, but I'm open for suggestions.
Okay. Like I say, if we see anything, type in the next couple of minutes or not, but I think what we'll do is let you sort of catch one of those ideas that you're sort of thinking on a little bit, and make that as sort of the lead topic. Give me a heads up on it about a day or two before, and I'll put it into the announcement, meeting announcement the day before, usually the day before. And otherwise, we'll have it more a kind of one of those, like I say, free speaking, interactive, not recorded meeting to kind of let people speak a little bit more openly.
I definitely would love more interaction with the group, though. Have it a little more open to the floor.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's where and I've heard this a couple times where people think having it recorded and broadcasted is a little bit, keep some people from speaking as freely. So hopefully that'll sort of help it become more interactive for the next couple of weeks. Cool. Yes, that's going to be the next 2 weeks, the 22nd and the 29th, Shane. So that'll be the next 2 weeks that we're going to have kind of Josh come on in and excuse me, just kind of run an open discussion with y'all. He's going to maybe, select a subject to sort of guide the group into chatting about. That's my take on it. And but yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of a break myself. Like I said, I may tune in, I may sit back a little bit, and I may not even participate if I can. I'm just trying to get my mojo back. I don't know where it went. And now that we're done with this election, I can probably take a week or two and sort of refresh my memory and get refocused on what we need to do moving forward here in the next few months. So, yep, that's what we're gonna do. All righty, guys, I'm seeing 7:53. I don't see any other comments coming in down below at the moment. I want to thank you all for joining me again tonight. I think we had a pretty good discussion on the primaries wrap up. Those results probably won't change a whole lot. And depending on what happens on the 28th with those couple of runoff races, I may just chime in a little bit on those on the conversation, but yep, that's about it. Once those are done, we'll be sort of starting to think ahead about the generals. All right, so I'm going to kind of call it quits for the night and go hit the couch. Thank you all for being here with me. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget, as always, to keep an eye on our social media, especially Facebook. We post more there. Do occasionally post to our Twitter and our Instagram as well. And don't forget to visit our website at normlsc.org. Scroll all the way down to the bottom and sign up for our newsletter. Thanks, guys. We'll see you again soon. Next Wednesday, as a matter of fact.